project, the very first step is to create a product class or a product entity and map it to the database table using JPA annotations. To do that, go to STS, double click on this to minimize, open up source main Java, open the package or expand the package, and you will find the product data application.java, which is the starting point of our Spring Boot application, and it is marked with @Spring Boot application annotation automatically. The execution of our application starts from this main method when we run our application. To create an entity, right click on this package, say new class, product is the name of the class, put it in a package called product.entities. Finish. This is the class which we are going to map to the product database table, which has 4 columns: ID, name, description, and price. Similarly, we'll have to create 4 fields here: private int ID, private string name, private string DESC. Instead of description, I'm going to use DESC, private double price, because price is decimal in the database. To encapsulate these, to generate getters and setters, select them all, go to source, generate getters and setters, click on select all, and the insertion point, I want it not after the first member, but at the end, that is after price field here. Select that, hit OK, hit Ctrl+Shift+F to format your code. And we have created the class, which should be mapped now to the database table. It will become an entity once we do that mapping. The very first annotation that we should be using at the class level is @entity from JPA. So type that in, hit Ctrl+1, import entity from javax.persistence package. This is the mandatory annotation. The next one, @table. This is optional. We need this only if the database table name is different from the class name, but in this case it's not. Hit Ctrl+1, import table from javax.persistence. And the next important field is ID, which is the primary key. When we created this database table, the ID is the primary key. We need to mark it with @ID annotation. Ctrl+1, import it from javax.persistence. And one last thing here, @column is optional. We need not mark each of these fields with @column. We only need it if the database column name is different from our field name. For description, in the database, it is description. But here we have used DESC. So when we run our program, we'll run into exceptions. To avoid that, use @column from javax.persistence and give it a name. Name is equal to, within double quotes, description. So we are telling Hibernate that the database column name is description, but the field name is DESC. So this DESC should be mapped. Whatever value is set into this DESC should be mapped to the description table in the database. If you don't use this, it will try to find a column called DESC in the database table. So in this lecture, you have successfully created a product entity and you have mapped it to the product database table by using JPA annotations like entity, table, ID, and column.